In this real-side experience, I would find myself in a house with Gwen, my mother, and we were upstairs. The house represents the personal created self. The first floor is level 1 of that personal self, and so the second floor upstairs would be the real side, beyond the one-dimensional part of the created self, as it was only a 2-floored house. It could be so that the upstairs here was the astral. If it was a demonstration of a specific life level, using the floors of a house as a reference, then naturally we would expect to have 4 levels to this house. But if it was just generally hinting at the real side, then it would be the level above the first floor. Everything is an isness after all, and the only necessity to pinpoint a particular life level would perhaps be to convey specific information about a part of the personal self for our consideration. Anyway, Gwen and I were upstairs, and in the presence of Native American Indians, it would seem. They were all dressed in buckskins and headdresses. They seemed to be speaking about astral projecting and psychic phenomena of this nature, and we were in a library of a kind, shelves stacked with books. I found the subject matter being discussed all very interesting, but wasn't over enthralled. Projecting the bodies does provide valid experiences, but a far more limited way of gleaning experiences. It does, of course, impress upon the personal self the reality of awareness beyond just the physical body, as was the idea with Paul Twitchell's bilocation and soul travel. But it is a more hazardous practice. You can punch holes in the aura. You can have the cord attaching yourself to the physical severed by other individuals, and be potentially lost in wherever you happen to have projected to, generally the astral. Also, you can create portals this way that individuals can utilize, particularly entities from the lower astral, which can follow you back and cause mayhem. I've personally had much experience with inadvertent portal creating through this practice and perceiving of the entities making use of these portals, and said entities on occasion making use of this opportunity to make a grab for me. Besides, you get far richer and more expansive awareness-enhancing experiences through the use of the New You song, and with what the guides show you on the real side. You're not just limited to the astral, as you tend to be, with astral out-of-body projections. Anyway, I would surmise we were in the causal memory body of Gwen. So, above the first level, the physical of the personal self, and the entirety of the real side of Gwen represented on this second floor, with the specific level determined by these books. A library of books would indicate all the stored lifetimes, all the experiences from this current creational simulator, the causal Akashic memory body, in other words. And Gwen has quite the interest in all things Native American Indian related, to the extent that she must have had such a lifetime prior to this, or a lifetime that very strongly imprinted upon her subconscious, and echoes of it filter through and stimulate her interests in her current lifetime. Consequently, this is why I would suggest it was her personal self, and the causal part of it, and I was simply there with her. Then the scene would switch, and it was now Peter, my father, and Gwen in an open country setting with myself, and amongst a far larger group of Native American Indians with their teepees, etc. All were clustered around one Indian individual who was speaking about being in balance with nature and how to be self-sufficient in a mutually agreeable, symbiotic relationship with it. This Native American spokesperson had the ability to grow a kind of straw-like food substance from his very body. Surely a demonstration then of being self-sufficient and requiring nothing, not even the all-natural environment, to supplement the self. Everything you require being within yourself, quite literally, complete independence, and real freedom, as it were. Seems we were going through a series of stages. We had moved from the restriction and cause and effect future lifetime consequence of psychic science, astral projection dabbling, to the more simple but ultimately purer and cleaner embracing of the supporting of the all-natural environment, to the final stage of superseding creation, and perhaps recognizing that as a free being of light, everything you need is readily available, no external sources required. Then we would all camp with the Indians for the night. So in a way, an experience in which all three of us started wherever we happened to be with our awareness just prior to finding the new presentation and being offered the opportunity by the real guides. Gwen, with her emotional attachment with her past Native American Indian lifetime, and I was choosing to accompany Gwen, and perhaps the astral projecting teachings from the Native American Indian initially simply indicated the place I had been just prior to finding the new presentation. With my astral projecting practices, I used to indulge in. So we all were shown our starting places, in a sense. Then the possibility of being more was presented, as we all did converge on this Native American setting and have the demonstration of the potentiality of becoming free beings of light with the ease. Gwen would seem very open to being more, as was I, but at this moment in the experience, Peter expressed concern about his physical life job, and how he must get up early in the morning after the camp-out, lest he be late for it. We can see then the restricting nature of creational ideas, some things being necessary to survive, as we must deal and assume positions that are available, the cabal, 9 to 5 jobs, etc. But it's always how we see them. If we either incorporate the ideas they represent with considerations and additional emotional charge, or if we just do the things we must and maintain an indifference to them, thus not loading up distorted ideas that become a part of the created consciousness. In this case, we can see demonstrably how Peter's consideration for his work may have ended the experience here for him. For yes, the experience would continue for us if we so decided. Emotional concerns and considerations form taplining drag anchors that limit the individual moving further into their recognition of the ears. The next scene opened up, and as it transpired, despite a few personal self-agitations, Peter was here with Gwen and I, so he must have dismissed and let go of these mental mind concerns in regards to his work. If he had not, then perhaps he may not have been here with us, as his trepidations would be tantamount to the decision to remain where he was. We were amongst another group now, and perhaps these were the guides, as they were prepping us for a series of tests that were to come. As we go through our process of becoming more aware, we will be tested constantly. Our abilities to handle situations, getting through and confronting the personal self and all of creation and all the obstacles that present to us as we go about it. Most obstacles are of a personal self-nature, as we are always the decider, and anything hindering our way is based on something we have agreed to and allowed the presence of, including the influence of dark forces, subconsciously or consciously. The various tests tend to be demonstrated in various ways, but generally they indicate the dealing or engaging with something required to move one along, awareness speaking, and get through the personal self. In this case, we were to step into a kind of car racing game, like a simulation, and there would be 3 levels of increasing difficulty to be overcome. If one were just to have a partial recollected experience, they may well have just had the car race and draw from that what their recognition can allow. Maybe their personal self would be most puzzled, or perhaps they would receive real awareness, insight as to the nature of the experience, as simply demonstrating a test in getting through the created self. With this experience, the context made it far easier then to ascertain. No recognition necessary, but perhaps recognition that allowed the extra detail to be seen, that, if not seen, would require more recognition to understand the car racing without the additional information. So, it's all about awareness and recognition. According to what we decide and where we have our focus at any given moment, can have experiences partially fragmented if we are perhaps indulging the personal self, and then we may have to stretch our recognition to decipher what is now an experience lacking detail, and perhaps dismiss the entire dream as simply a car race. We can see the importance of real intent placement and focus on the ease, as everything equals itself. Our experiences and what we see stems from the foundation of our focus and intent placement.